Hey, I'm Sam.
And I'm Dane.
We shoot the shit about hockey before, during, and after the game. But Puck Talk starts now. Welcome to Puck Talk. I'm Sam.
And I'm Dane.
And it's a little bit of a different episode for us setting-wise. This is the first time out of the studio. We're back in my condo. That's like old school Puck Talk. I love it. We're drinking beers too.
I was just gonna say
the show where we drink beers and talk about hockey is back.
Right. That's right. It's back.
It's back. That's different. I broke my wrist. That's different.
Playing
soccer somehow. I don't think you're supposed to break wrists in soccer, but I don't know. So got a full cast on. Yeah. What else is new? It's the Stanley Cup Finals. Game 2 is on tonight. If you're listening after the fact, that's when we're recording this.
We're about an hour away from puck drop.
Yep. We saw Game 1. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the third round and kind of recap that. And then there's lots of stuff going on in the NHL. PK John Scott, what do you think is the deal with them? We'll get to that and that ESPN list. I'm excited for that segment. Dane is going to go off.
Such a stupid list.
All right, let's talk about the third round, I guess. And what happened there. Ottawa, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won in 7. Dane, you thought they were going to squeak it out, the Sens.
Oh, I've been rocking these
yeah, you've been pretty close.
These predictions.
Yeah.
I said Ottawa in 7. It was right there.
It was incredibly close.
Oh, man.
Oh. And at that point, as a Leafs fan, it was so hard to cheer for the Sens. But in that moment, in that overtime in Game 7, it was like, man, I want to see it now.
My sister's like a diehard Sens fan.
Yeah.
And I told her I was going to get on the Sens bandwagon. And I did.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of fun cheering for them. It was like, I was sad when they lost. Like, I'm
same.
so tired of
I hated myself for being sad, but I was like,
I felt the same way. But
yeah,
like what a story!
Series.
Like what a crazy story for Ottawa. I mean, you look at where they were last year. You look at what happened this year with Anderson and his wife, Condon kind of playing. He played good through the stretch. Like,
yep.
He played better in Ottawa.
MacArthur was out at the beginning of the season. That was a kind of a story, right? He came back and
he played. When he came back, he played amazing.
Yeah,
I'm really happy to see him be back. It's never, it's never a good thing having a player out for that long.
Yeah,
it was very questionable whether
that
he was going to
alter your career.
Totally, exactly. Yeah. Some people didn't think he was going to play again.
Yeah,
so that's good. But man, the injuries for Ottawa.
Yeah. That's nuts. And that's been a theme. We talked about this last episode with like Joe Thornton and stuff like that, but the amount of injuries Ottawa had, insane.
So there was a presser, Sens GM. He started the presser by going through all the injuries. And these are the injuries. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Carlson had two heel fractures and muscle issues in his ankle. Borowiecki had a high ankle sprain. Burrows had a high ankle sprain. Ceci had multiple broken fingers, and he broke the same fingers multiple times.
I think he said 17 times.
I don't think he was serious. I don't think he was serious, but more than 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Smith, rib injury, abdominal strain. Victor Stahlberg, rib injury. Chris Neal, sprained hand. Phaneuf had a bad wrist. Anderson apparently had a really bad back during the Rangers series. Tom Pyatt with an ankle issue. Brassard with a bad shoulder. And I think it was announced just the other day that he's having surgery and he's going to be out 4 to 5 months. Clisson with a bad back. Method obviously struggling with a finger issue. Stone had a leg injury that never got to 100%. And Dzingel actually injured his wrist after he scored that.
That number of people goal. It's the majority of the roster. It's probably close to 75% of the roster.
Like the only people on here that aren't, high impact players. I mean, they're all high impact players. And I think Clisson, went in and out of the lineup.
And you need your depth guys too.
Is a depth guy, but like you have Carlson, Method, and Phaneuf all with injuries. Those are your top 3.
And Anderson,
defensemen.
A goalie playing with a bad back through a series and winning that series. I don't get it. Like when I had this wrist injury, I was like, I feel like I can kind of relate because it's like a serious, quote unquote, sports injury. But like, the idea of playing with multiple broken fingers, like holding a hockey stick and playing at high impact and not focusing on the pain and all of that stuff is insane to me. Like how do you do that?
Yeah. I find it amazing how many injections they get to numb it. Yeah. I heard like Ovi when the Caps were put out, like all the injuries kind of leak out the day after, you know. They have the presser, everything kind of comes to light, and Ovi was getting shots like every intermission for his like leg.
Nuts.
That's crazy.
Yeah. How can you do that?
Carlson playing like how many minutes a game on 2 heel fractures? Like
I think I read like after that series, like after he got undressed, they basically had to carry him into the shower.
Oh my God.
He can't walk anymore.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
And like how much extra damage do you do to your foot when you're skating on it?
How much is OT? Like you're sitting on the bench, you get a shot, like you know, double OT in the last game.
Yeah.
And you're like, part of you has to just hate yourself for playing because it probably hurts. It probably hurts so much.
Yeah. And you know, like how hard the rehab's going to be in the summer as well.
Yeah.
Like what's Carlson going to be doing over the summer? Just sitting down, basically.
Yeah.
Man,
craziness.
And just speaking of the injuries, I guess this is a little sidetracking, but we'll get to it later. We'll get to it in the other series. I don't know.
But let's just talk about Pittsburgh for a sec.
Yeah. They've had a ton of injuries too, and that was kind of, I think, it seemed like how Ottawa could kind of climb into that series, but at the same time they were dealing with so many injuries.
I mean, it was definitely kind of a matchup of depth, like who can kind of, it wasn't who can win, who can not lose in a weird way. But something I do like seeing is, you know, Crosby, who's like this perennial champion.
Yeah.
Like he wins at every stage. He has won at every stage of his career. And he's going back to the Stanley Cup for the third or fourth time. And Carlson, this is the furthest Carlson's ever made it. And did you hear the mic up of their conversation? Carlson's just like in defeat, like just so humble. I think it was. Don't quote me word for word, but it was something along the lines of "Go win another one." He said to Crosby, something super cool, like And I always find it interesting because I saw a couple tweets that were it was Carlson mocking Crosby at a face-off. Crosby, for those who don't know, Crosby always puts his glove up to his mouth, turns around and speaks to either his wingers or his defensemen on face-offs. He always does. It's like a Crosby signature. And there's photos of like Carlson doing that at face-offs, and he was obviously doing it in a way where it was like poking fun.
He was talking behind him, and he's the defenseman on a face-off.
Yeah. But I just like seeing stuff like that. Like, so you can go from like kind of poking fun during the game and whatever, and then you move to like kind of a more sincere part of and the handshake line is a part of hockey.
Totally.
And you go to that kind of that process, and it's nice to see, you know, real recognize real.
We've seen moments like in the Ottawa, the Washington Leafs series, kind of that in the handshake line, this acknowledgement of Washington's the now, Leafs are the future.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see you soon. Like on the big stage kind of thing.
Like that. I like that a lot.
It's really cool. And I think it's cool. It's cool to see Crosby cement his legacy. Underdog stories are nice,
cemented already.
I think last year really did it because of how he literally won everything in like a calendar year, and this is kind of just adding to the legend basically. Yeah, and it's nice. Underdog stories are nice, but at the same time, it's cool to be able to look back and say we witnessed Sidney Crosby in his prime dominate the NHL.
Yeah, totally,
and that's awesome.
So I forget what it was, but I posted something on our Instagram account, and the caption was, I think it was when we announced that Ottawa was out of the playoffs, and instead of putting like something about Ottawa, I actually put, "We get it, Crosby, you're a legend." Yeah, and there are a couple of people who like made comments about like how that was.
We were a little salty about that one,
but it's like, how do you? He's a legend. Yeah. How do you not? He's gonna go down like he's gonna go down a legend. He is a legend. He's the best hockey player in the world right now. I don't care what you say about McDavid. Crosby still is the best hockey player in the world.
I feel like the number of people chirping him has slowly gone down, but there's still people there, and it's like, at this point, how can you keep doing it? Yeah, exactly. Like,
It's crazy.
He's silencing people though, slowly but surely. Yeah, that was well. Given what Crosby is, given what Malkin is, given what that team is and their championship pedigree, the fact that Ottawa was able to push them to a Game 7 double overtime,
it was a bounce away. That's what I love about playoffs. It got to a point where if a defense been pinched at the wrong time and a breakaway happened, like that's the series. That's what
totally.
It comes down. It's crazy how something so long, like a series of 7 games, like so much hockey, comes down. It comes down to that. And I made a comment actually when they were going into overtime, and I love nothing more than Game 7s that go into overtime. There is nothing in sports more exciting than Game 7 overtime. It's do or die.
Totally.
It's fast. It's not like basketball or football. Like it's just a little bit slower. It's such a fast sport that can just change on a dime. We saw that a lot in that series actually. Like the goaltending having a questionable call or a save on one end and just coming back the other way and scoring.
And like you go from a split second of not having any idea that a point's coming or a goal's coming to it's there.
Yeah.
Whereas like in football, like you can see someone setting up to get a touchdown, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. It's great.
Great series though. I mean, I'll watch any series that goes to 7 games.
All the talk about that series being boring up till that point, that Game 7 was
intense.
Incredible. Like that was a great game to watch.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nashville and Anaheim. Joe Hansen versus Ryan Kessler.
Well, yeah.
Guess what team I'm on?
What team most people are on.
Oh,
basically non-Ducks fans. Yeah. What was Johansson's comment about Kessler?
He literally said
family cheers for.
Yeah, he seriously questioned how he has any fans. Like, how do you cheer for a guy who just always has a stick at it, like in Johansson's groin?
Man.
And say what you will. I know every team who's not the Ducks would happily take Ryan Kessler on their team.
He's the type of player you are happy you have on your team, but you hate
when
him.
You play against.
That's
Totally.
Kadri, that's Marchand, that's
Gallagher. It's Corey Perry.
Yeah,
they're impact players, but they impact on a slightly
get in people's heads.
Yeah.
That's the mental side of the game's important, just as much as like your talent, which Kessler has as well. But yeah,
good series though. Nashville just
looking so
doing
dominant.
crazy things in Nashville.
Rene's goalie stats coming into the final, incredible. And what's their record? It's 14 and no, it's 12-4.
12-4.
Yeah, nuts.
And just like the city of Nashville.
Yeah.
I hear so many cool stories and I see so many cool tweets about, restaurants around the arena, people. It's a hot ticket right now in Nashville. Like real hot.
It's cool to see a hockey market develop, especially in a place no one thought. Like 10 years ago about when there were talks of Balsillie moving the team to Hamilton.
Yeah.
And we've gone from that and people saying the hockey's not working here to this is literally the hottest hockey market now.
I'm a very, very pro Canadian hockey team kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
I want Quebec to get a hockey team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing another Toronto team. I think it would do wonders for the sport.
Yeah.
But man, how crazy is it? Going through the Ottawa series and hearing all about how they can't fill their stadium at home, and they couldn't.
No.
There
it was
tickets.
true. People were trying to refute that, but the fact is
you could get tickets 2 minutes before game time on Ticketmaster.
And cheap seats too. It's not like the tickets are too expensive. It's you could reasonably get them as an individual.
Totally. And like if I was just a little bit closer to Ottawa and just had a little bit more time on my hands, I happily pay. Like I looked at prices one day and like I found an $80 ticket. I will pay $80 from now until the day I die to watch Crosby play in the playoffs.
I would have seriously considered if they had won that series.
Oh, for sure. If they won the series, we'd be.
If you could go to a game where you see someone lift the cup, I don't give a shit who it is at that point because my team's not in it.
100%.
Let's see it.
100%. So it's really interesting, hearing all about that being in Toronto, hearing all about Ottawa, and the comments that are made and the headlines,
And
then going and seeing all these tweets from Nashville where that's the most expensive ticket in
Totally
hockey
night
right
and
now,
day.
and it's just a booming market, and everyone in Nashville wants to go see the Predators play.
Yeah.
And it's just
every
I think
country
it's
singer
really
under the
fun.
sun.
Yeah,
too.
in every country. Yeah, every country singer.
Awesome.
It'll be fun to see who they bring out for the Stanley Cup
I know,
Finals.
man. Who would they bring out? Like who's
Literally
the biggest
any
person that they haven't brought out yet? Because they brought out big names.
Yeah.
Like
I know country music decently well, but like they could bring out like Brad Paisley.
Yeah.
Or
Toby Keith. Could Toby
Toby
Keith sing
Keith?
at them?
Oh, that would be cool. I think that would be cool.
That would be cool.
I don't know. Lots and lots of
Ghost
artists.
Johnny Cash.
It could be. It doesn't necessarily have to be a country star. Like like Nashville's a country music scene, but it's also a music scene. Like it's also
totally.
like I don't know.
Memphis has a good rap scene. 3-6 Mafia. Oh, say, can you see? They would get roasted for that, for sure.
But prediction wise, I rock this as well.
Yeah, you nailed that. Nashville in 7.
Nashville in 6.
Both
You said
saw.
Nashville in 7.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see them win. I'm glad.
Totally.
I'm really happy for PK.
Yeah, that's
Super
good.
happy.
As a Habs fan, I think who's not rooting for PK at this point? Do you think Habs fans by and large are rooting for PK?
It's stupid. So I have a bone to pick about the whole PK thing right now.
Yeah.
I read a headline on TSN that was like, I think the headline was, and I might be slightly off, but it was along the lines of, does PK get criticized unfairly for having a personality? Mm-hmm. That would not be an article if he still played in Montreal. No one would ever write that article if he played in Montreal.
They didn't. Why is that though?
Because I feel like now that he's on Nashville, and now that he went through like the heart, and I'm gonna call it heartbreak. He cried when he went back to Montreal. If it was up to him, he would never have left Montreal.
Yeah.
They didn't. He went through some heartbreak, and he got the shaft. Nothing went to his plan.
No.
I felt bad for him then, and I feel bad for him now.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't get articles written like that when he was in Montreal. Everyone was too critical of him. He was always in like a negative light in Montreal.
Yeah.
And now that I feel like people have come around because he went through like a shitty part of like what being a hockey player is.
Mm-hmm.
He went through like worst case scenario, you sign an 8-year contract. He donates the money to the hospital. Like, how does that not cement your place in that community?
Right.
And then he gets traded. But now, and I liked him. I was a big fan. I had a Subban jersey. I still have that Subban jersey.
In a pillow form.
It's been pillow form, but I still have it. And, he would not, if he, this is like a multifaceted argument. Mike Milbury got on that NBC broadcast,
bullshit.
called him a clown because he was dancing a little bit before, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Mike Milbury is an idiot. But that being said, other than that, everyone adore, and I don't get me wrong, I love that everyone adores PK.
Yeah.
But they only adore him because he doesn't play on Montreal anymore. Because he wouldn't have gotten that. He wouldn't have the media wouldn't have his back like he does if he never left.
Well, and
he could have stayed in Montreal and been the player that everyone wanted him to be, and people would be like, "Oh, is PK a diver? Oh, he did this. Oh, he did that.
Yeah.
This is why he shouldn't be why he isn't worth the contract. Oh, this is why he's not on Team Canada." But now everyone's like, "Yeah, PK, win the cup. PK, I hope you're on Team Canada next year. PK, show Montreal what they did wrong." But like,
yeah. Well, it's because Montreal's a polarizing team. First of all, I think that's one thing, and I think the other thing is it's really cool now that he's in an American market in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's great for the sport in general. I think not just Canadians, will be talking about him like that, but like
I feel like
we're looking at him in a
Nashville,
larger case.
yeah, and Nashville kind of fits his personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like he went to Jersey or like Rangers,
Yeah.
or like everyone. I just feel like
The fans are hype. The city's hype.
and they love
PK
him. They like
is larger than
Nashville.
life. Yeah.
He fits into that that community really well.
Schmoozing with Carrie Underwood and all
Yeah.
that stuff. You saw the Mike Fisher thing where
Yeah.
he's talking to him in the presser
Went
and he's
rogue.
like, "You're the handsomest guy on the team."
So it's I love PK. I'm rooting for him.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I've just noticed these little things since the trade that I'm like, that probably wouldn't happen. You probably wouldn't feel those feelings.
No, for sure.
If he was still in Montreal. But
I feel that.
Talking about PK, he was also in the news for something else.
Yeah, a little bit of
beef.
So the interesting thing about that is, it was ESPN, I guess, that was airing that feature on PK, and they released these quotes to different journalists from the segment, and one of them was this old kind of out of context quote from John Scott, and I don't have it in front of me, but basically he said, I don't like PK, he's a piece of garbage. And if you put that out of context and like people can't see the interview or anything like beforehand, people are like, whoa, what happened? Yeah. And then he calls into Sportsnet, Hockey Central, and basically is like, look, this is what it is. It's an old thing out of context. I would hate anyone I played against that kind of has that larger than life attitude. This is just a thing. This was kind of like regular trash talk between players, between teams, especially if they're like kind of that cocky face and personality. But I like him. He's a
keep
good
in
guy.
mind that those quotes were before he went to the All-Star game, before he got traded to Montreal, and before I think he played one game with Montreal, but PK might not have been in the lineup. I think PK was injured when he played that game.
Yeah.
But that's not to say they didn't run into each other. Like they play on the same team. They were crossing paths.
Yeah, totally.
But it's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things that
it was a way to rile people up with no real basis to it. I think, for a second, everyone was like, "What's this?" And
I feel like the hockey community just wanted to hear about John Scott again.
Yeah. I'm excited for that movie whenever it comes out. John Scott seems like a good guy, though. And I get that. Like, PK is a guy that will piss you off if you're playing against him because he's got an attitude to him. And that's a great thing. It's a great thing for fans. I love it. Everyone loves PK's kind of like larger than life attitude. But if you're playing against him, you're like, this guy is... You don't like a non-humble guy playing against you and doing well. Pisses you off.
I'm always interested when, guys who play for Team Canada. So I noticed it in the Nashville and Anaheim series, Subban and Getzlaf kind of going at it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, so they get a little, they chirp each other. Like, they they say whatever they say. But it's probably, I'm assuming, not very nice.
Yeah.
But what happens when you show up for Team Canada camp and you're just like, you end up sitting at the chair beside them? Like, it's just like, is there like this unspoken rule where it's like, what happens on the ice stays on the ice, and you just like pretend to be nice to each other? Or are you actually nice to, like, it's kind of like Team Canada last year when Brad Marchand and Brendan Gallagher, like, there was like news about how they were spending time outside of hockey together because they're both playing for the same team. They're both around the same age. I think Marchand's a little bit older, but obviously found some kind of relationship where they enjoy each other's company. Yeah. And I always find that so interesting. Like, you can just...
It seems like it goes up to a point...
Maybe I just take everything too personally.
Some people... That's the thing. I think there's like a line to cross. And if you cross that line, it extends outside of the hockey rink. And it's like, I don't like you as a person, period. Yeah. Although I think they're probably dicks in general in the NHL that people know is like, this is someone I wouldn't want to hang out with outside. But then you probably also understand, like, everyone trash talks in the game. Sure everyone does it.
I don't know. There's not to should we talk about the finals, or should we talk about this other stuff first and come back to the finals?
Maybe let's talk about the other stuff. Maybe let's leave the finals as like the grand finale. Right. I like that idea. I just
really quickly. I just want to talk really quick about what would happen in hockey if the Chicago Blackhawks and the Pittsburgh Penguins met in the Stanley Cup playoffs or the Stanley Cup finals 3 years in a row. Yeah. What would happen?
And just steamroll every other team on the way there.
Yeah. Like, could you imagine a hockey team going perfect?
Yeah.
Through the
12-0 for the
12-0
round. Yeah. No, I can't.
Like, that's crazy.
Basketball's interesting.
For those who aren't aware, we're comparing right now the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, where the Cleveland Cavaliers went 12-1 to the finals.
Yep.
And the Golden State Warriors are perfect, 12-0. And this is the third year. So LeBron has been, and Sam, you know basketball a little better than I do.
Yeah.
LeBron has been to the finals.
This is, I think, his 7th straight year.
7 straight, and for
that
two different
goes
teams.
from he was on Cleveland for the first of those 7, went to Miami, came back to Cleveland.
7 years in a row.
All in a row, yeah.
So now this is the third year in a row where both the Cavs and the Warriors.
The Warriors
made
are a
it. And
crazy stacked team.
And it's like how like that.
The
so
Warriors
lame.
the Warriors are in a weird spot because they have Steph Curry for an absolute steal. It would be like having like Sagan at like $3 million a year.
Max Pacioretty gets paid 4.5.
There you go. It's
John Tavares
comparable to that.
John Tavares is 5.5.
Yeah, and
Number one
then you
center.
look at like Chicago, who has 2 players locked up at $10.5 million.
Yeah,
and have screwed themselves.
But you know what I mean? I feel like
yeah.
I honestly feel like the hockey world would shun the Stanley Cup final. Like people hate as many fans as Chicago Blackhawks have. People fucking hate the Blackhawks.
Yeah,
like
totally.
Like,
and they love to see
next year. Next year is the first year in 5 years. The last first time in 6 years actually, that the Chicago Blackhawks will not play an outdoor game.
Yeah, that's stupid.
There are teams who have never played an outdoor hockey game in the NHL, and then there's the Blackhawks who have played 5 years in a row.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's part of the reason why the hockey community at large, even outside of Nashville, has rallied behind Nashville because they swept the Blackhawks. It's like this team.
But how much hype and how much fun from the NHL playoffs this year has come from Ottawa, has come from Nashville.
Yep.
Leafs pushing hard against the Washington Capitals. You know, it's like.
And Game 7s in general.
Yeah, Game 7s in general. We just talked about overtime in Game 7.
Yeah.
Where you have these teams who are just winning. Like
basketball, I think the nature of the sport makes it so it's easier to kind of the best team always wins because there's so many points going back and forth that you can accumulate so many more points up on your opponent than you could in hockey. Like hockey is just a bounce away, like we were saying a lot of times, unless you're totally crushing someone like 5-0 or something like that. But
it kind of goes back. Like you and I watched a couple of the Raptors games, and as like the Raptors GM,
yeah.
So you're the Raptors GM, which is great.
Yeah,
does a great job. I really like Masai. But
you're in an awful position right now.
How are you like, I'm going to build a team to win a championship knowing that you have to get through Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I understand that like it's a sport and people want to win, but at some point I just feel like that it sucks. Like I don't know, maybe I'm just being sour about it because I don't particularly like LeBron. I don't particularly like basketball. But I just feel like as a G, like that's just crazy to me. I would have a really hard time building a team. Like I have a hard time rooting for a team knowing, like Raptors got swept.
Yeah,
and Raptors were a good team.
I didn't want to watch this year's playoffs. Last year's was a fun run, because they got 2 more rounds and that was like uncharted territory, so we didn't have to worry about Cleveland. And we took 2 games from Cleveland last year.
Yeah,
this year was different. It was hopeless from tip off of game 1 on that series. And like even now GMs of the teams that are currently tanking in the NBA are basically talking like, and the players are talking like, well, LeBron's going to be out of his prime by the time we're good. And that's our saving grace. We can like thank our fans. Masai's built a team that's prime is right now. DeRozan is,
and he built
just a couple years
good
younger
team.
He built a great team, but it's never, it's weird because of how these teams came together. LeBron, the best player in the league, decided in free agency to come to a team that had sucked in his absence, and they got Kyrie Irving with picks. They drafted Andrew Wiggins and traded him to Minnesota for Kevin Love. They had several like top picks, and then they just throw LeBron in, and they're all of a sudden amazing. And somehow Golden State, on the other hand, gets Kevin Durant after having 3 other all-stars on their team.
Teams strive to have a big 3 and they literally have a big 4.
Insane.
It
wouldn't happen. The salary cap also wouldn't allow that to happen in hockey, I think.
I also have a beef with basketball because, like, how do you sign a 4-year contract and you just get to pick when you start a new contract? You just opt out.
Right,
I'm
right.
going to opt out of my contract. I'm going to opt out of this binding agreement that binds us together over X amount of years for this much money. I'm just going to walk away from it.
Basketball needs to do something because these two teams found interesting ways to just create super teams that are really hard for other teams. They kind of just fell into this situation where
like,
they're like,
how
we're amazing now.
Okay, so and like this is the thing. They got to the point where they're this good.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is going to change. Like,
yeah,
they
can't break that team up necessarily. Well, so Steph Curry becomes a free agent this off season. He's going to get a ton more money. I don't know enough about the NBA, like salary cap and stuff like that.
You have to pay a luxury tax. You can go above the above.
Yeah,
the
you can pay
cap,
like
you pay the luxury
a
tax.
ton over, but
as
long
if
as
you're
your
if you're the Cavaliers or you're the Golden State Warriors, the two most popular teams in the league, why do you not pay that salary?
It's worth it. Yeah. The playoff
100%.
tickets you're selling, the jerseys you're selling,
100%.
or
When you go 12-0 in the play, both these teams have combined for one loss.
Yeah.
And I always think about hockey and what would happen, and it's true. Like a team from the West who's good every year.
Yeah.
Chicago. A team from the East who's good every year. Pittsburgh. They both have two of the best players in the league. They both have solid goalies. They both have a really good lineup. They both draft well. They both scout well.
Yeah.
They coach well and GM'd well. But then you can have a team like Nashville come in. This is I guess this is what I'm building up to being my point. You can have a team like Nashville where I think Mike Fisher's the only player on Nashville right now who's played in the Stanley Cup final.
Yep.
And you can take a team and they sweep. They don't even win. They don't win in game 7. They sweep the Chicago Blackhawks.
That's the first time in professional sports. Lowest seed, 16 seed beats a first seed.
Yeah.
Then a sweep. Yeah.
So that happens, and it's just, and everyone's like happy. Everyone's in like this weird
yeah.
So we don't have to worry about Chicago.
And if your team isn't Chicago, if your team is the Leafs, if your team is the Habs, you can say literally anything can happen.
Anyone can win.
Yeah.
Like
the Preds are 4 wins away from the Stanley Cup. And they had less points or the same amount of points as the Islanders and the Lightning.
Yeah.
Let that sink in,
And then you get, and the funny thing that kind of ties us all together. You get Charles Barkley in the media, who's literally he does analysis for NBA TV
or TNT.
TNT.
Yeah,
and he says on air, "I would rather go watch hockey."
Yeah,
like
he said it multiple times,
and he's tweeted it.
Yeah.
It's like a thing now that he likes hockey.
For the Ottawa Pittsburgh game 7, after I think the Boston Cleveland series in basketball was wrapping up and they were doing their post game and he was like, I'm going back to my hotel. I got to see Ottawa win this game 7.
Yes.
It's awesome. And I watched this thing on YouTube the other day. He was on Sportsnet a year ago when the NBA All-Star game was in Toronto.
Yep.
And he was talking to Strombo on some hockey broadcast. I don't know if it was Hockey Night in Canada or anything, but like he was on there for 10 minutes. Kiprios was teaching him how to shoot a puck. He's talking about how he loves the Lightning.
Oh, awesome.
It's like, man, could Charles Barkley just come over to the NHL?
Just come to the dark side.
It'd be amazing. It's a weird year for the NBA too, because last year was a little more exciting, but they do have a problem. They'll figure it out, hopefully.
So moving back a little bit,
talking a lot about basketball.
Yeah, we'll move back to
podcast,
hockey,
I guess.
Do you? I have lots to say about this too.
Yeah,
I have lots to say about the next 2 topics. We gotta talk about some they're not rumors, but people have suggested this a few times on Twitter and the media. I've read a couple articles, and I don't think it's feasible. I honestly do not think it's feasible. But should the Washington Capitals consider moving Alex Ovechkin?
Maybe. Well, so I think what really set this off was them losing, but then they had a presser, and basically the GM was like, if a hockey trade came along for Ovechkin, I would consider it. prefacing it with like he's the face of the franchise. I'm not trying to move him. Like
That's
he's
what
so
they said about
entrenched in here.
PK Subban.
Exactly. That's the thing, though. It's like if PK Subban can get traded with what the GM said, anyone could get traded. If there's any remote kind of like
I have a
thing in the GM's
anytime
voice or,
someone's always like, "Yo, they can't trade him. They won't trade him." I just need to always remind people that Gretzky got traded.
Gretzky got
Gretzky
traded.
was traded. It can happen. It will happen again.
yeah, it will.
If Gretzky can be traded, anyone
I don't
on any contract
think
can be traded.
Ovechkin being traded is crazy. I think it's.
I don't think it
very
is either,
reasonable.
but okay, so you have Ovechkin on your team. He's in your lineup.
Yeah.
You have to to make that work. You have to get so much in return.
Yep.
So much.
And young and pretty good, or equalish age and on par, which is almost.
And it's
impossible.
like it's not even quality; it's quantity too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a good
probably
player,
getting multiple first round picks,
multiple
and a
first round
player.
picks, multiple prospects, and a good roster player.
Yeah.
Maybe they take a back. Like obviously there's room to wiggle, but like it's a big trade. And
It's a scary trade for a GM that's taking in Ovechkin. It's you are putting it all on the table.
If the Nashville Predators taught me anything this year, it's big trades can lead to big success.
They did some good jobs. Holy shit.
But you know what I mean? Like it's not a matter of money. It's a matter of like you have to sell the farm.
Yep.
And you're not even going to be in conversation if you don't have like Montreal right now. Montreal does not have a good farm. They're not even in the conversation.
No.
I mean, they couldn't take it on.
They can't impress with picks. They can't.
There's
really
nothing they
impress
can
with the roster
offer
player.
that's reasonable to what they expect to be getting.
Yeah.
And it's just, but even if you do, like Toronto has the prospects, but that's not even worth it. Like
No. We would never do it. It's like there's nothing on the Leafs.
I can't foresee a trade being good enough.
Yeah.
Because it's Ovechkin. It's a guaranteed 40 goals, at least 35.
Yeah.
While eating top line minutes.
And you have to have
being a
cap
bruiser.
room too. That's the other thing. Like what I don't
And
think
so
Washington's
it's
not going to eat salary unless they really hate
Totally.
Ovechkin. They're going to say you taking full salary.
Totally. And so it comes down to like how many teams have enough prospects and enough cap space.
Yeah.
Like
Totally.
not
No.
really.
Well, so here's the other thing that could happen. Ovechkin doesn't get traded. Ovechkin gets upset at the league for the Olympic thing. He says maybe I'll go back to the KHL. He'll pull a Kovalchuk and he'll be gone.
Yeah.
And then the league loses. It's not like Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk is a very good player and probably a Hall of Famer. Ovechkin's a top
he
10
is in the Hall of
all-time
Fame.
great.
He is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
More than that, like greatest of all time. Not like obviously the greatest of all time, but we're talking about him as one of the greats.
Totally. You'll never find a goal scorer like him
Oh.
who throws his body around as much as him. He's just a perennial scoring power forward.
Yeah.
And it's
Year in, year out in a more puck dead NHL than, the guys that we've seen, like Gretzky obviously played in a crazy era.
Totally. So as much as I want to say anything can happen, I just don't think.
It's happening. It's happening. I don't know who.
I think
or
the most
how.
likely situation is he goes back to Russia. He
Actually,
wants
that
to
is
play in the
true.
Olympics.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And
part of me kind of hopes it does, just to stick it to the league.
I think he wants a gold medal way more than a Stanley Cup.
Yo,
Maybe not way more, but more.
It's like for European and Russian players, they grow up when you played road hockey.
Mm-hmm.
You're a kid. Oh, I'm Wayne Gretzky. Oh, we're playing for the Stanley Cup. Like, how many times does that happen as a kid?
That's the go-to.
And that's what you do when you grew up in Canada or even the States. Across in Europe and in Russia, they don't play for the Stanley Cup. They play for gold medals.
Yep.
And I think that's why you see, the season ends and players go over to play in the IHF Worlds. That's why you see a lot of Swedes, Finns, Russians, anywhere in Europe.
Yeah.
You see so much more openness to playing.
Patriotism.
Patriotism.
And not that the Canadian players aren't patriotic, but at the same,
And they are when it comes to the Olympics. The Olympics is like their bread and butter.
Yeah, the cup is more important.
But
though,
the cup,
to Crosby.
their cup is number one, and after they play a season of hockey, I mean, some of them, like you see Matt Duchene and Nathan McKinnon go over after playing for the Colorado Avalanche, who just stunk it up this year.
Yeah,
they can go over and play on a good team and do well. But if you're, Carey Price and you just have a newborn, like it's not really a question. It's I'm just gonna, it's my time off.
Totally.
Got a family now, and they don't really care. So it might. Part of me kind of wants him to go. I would be really, really sad to see him leave the NHL.
Yeah, it's bad.
But I'm pissed that they're not playing in the Olympics.
That is gonna change so many things. So many dominoes are gonna fall into place. The KHL is gonna be something serious.
Yeah.
I wonder now. So talking about how Russians and Europeans kind of look more towards international play when they're growing up as kind of that, to idolize that. Now that we have the Gagarin Cup and we have the KHL and all of that stuff, is there going to be a new generation that says that's the pinnacle for me growing up? Like I always dreamed of winning the Gagarin Cup.
They'll never see. The only thing the biggest difference I think is the NHL is a very and say what you will about Gary Bettman, and the league. For it's like they take a lot of heat for many, many reasons, but it's a well-run league. Everyone gets paid. The markets are pretty good. I do think there's a couple too many outdoor games. I think there's a lot of things that I would change, but overall it's a pretty good league. Where the KHL, they have teams withdrawing. They have players who haven't gotten paid.
Right.
It's
and I think that's partially still because it's a really young league and they're kind of settling down a little bit.
Totally, but at what point is that like how many guys who play hockey and both in the NHL and KHL have families who are like, if you don't get paid like that, that's a bad thing. Like that is a hard thing to.
You don't get paid in a profession where you have to retire at 40.
Exactly.
Like you need that money.
So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I think it has the power if they just kind of. I think that's what the difference is right now. I don't think it's not like I don't think right now it's a thing where I want to go to the NHL because it's bigger, better hockey. I don't think that's really an argument anymore.
No.
I think I'm going to go to the NHL because that's the Premier League and everyone gets paid and that's a glory league.
It's true. Yeah.
Not saying Russia isn't. I bet you people stay in Russia for a reason.
Oh yeah.
Guys who could play in the NHL.
They have legitimate stars that would light it up here.
Totally. But I think until they gets that solid base of being a professional league where there's money, there's fans and everything. I don't think you'll be able to see them compare.
Yeah, it'll be a while if they can figure it out. Yeah, true. Do you want to go off on this ESPN list? Because I want to hear.
Okay,
it. I'm just gonna sit back and then I'll put my comment in after.
Okay, ESPN released a list. It's called the World Fame 100, ranking the top 100 athletes. And
before you go into this, it's based on objective criteria that they've set out. Like
it's like an algorithm.
Yeah, they have the amount that you get from endorsements, the amount of social media followers you have, the Google Trends data, and all that. And so they have an objective quote unquote list that they've done based on this specific criteria of the 100 most famous athletes in the world. Active athletes as well.
Active athletes and so. First of all, 100 athletes. There are 0 hockey players, 0 baseball players, which I thought was really interesting. Almost 40 soccer players. And in the top 10, we have 3 soccer players. We have Neymar at 6, Messi at 3, and Ronaldo took the number 1 spot. LeBron James is at 2, along with Kevin Durant at 8. Usain Bolt is at 7. Phil fucking Mickelson's at 5 for some reason.
Yeah, I don't get that. Is he like a cool guy? You're like, whoa, the Phil Mickelson.
Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal are at 4 and 9, and Tiger Woods, fresh off his falling asleep at the wheel, finishes
very
at number
memeable
10.
mugshot. Yeah.
So I have a couple issues with this list for a couple reasons. So, like Sam said, it's an objective criteria, but it blows. There's just so many things that blow my mind about this list. I have a problem. So Ronda Rousey made the list, and she made the list at 16. So 16 that's a pretty high number when you're talking about all the athletes in the world. 16 is what did she do last year? She literally hid at her mom's house. She hid away at her mom's house after she lost. She came back and lost again, and now she's like devastated. I don't think she's ever going to fight again. How do you put someone who lost twice, who had the only news that she made was that she's not in the news?
That's true. Okay, so if this was like the 2015 ranking or the 2016 ranking, I would get that rank
totally.
16.
She's like rocking the world. She's in movies.
Yeah.
She's
Totally.
on Entourage. She's dating Turtle. It's awesome. I love it. But like, she has literally hid away from the media. She has done everything in her power to like remove herself from society and not be in the public's eye. And she makes the world famous.
That's a good point. Like, she literally made an effort to not be famous. And she's behind Serena Williams, who was questioning it.
How is that a thing? Like how is Ronda Rousey the girl who and don't get me wrong, I am a fan. Mm-hmm. I'm a fan of McGregor. I love the cocky attitude. I love everything about McGregor. I think if people who like McGregor also liked maybe not anymore, but liked Rousey for the same reason. Mm-hmm. But Rousey, I just don't get it. I don't get Hope Solo at 75. She's everything I don't like about soccer players.
Okay, but I think that's maybe why, because she gets in the news for the wrong reasons.
But
she's
like
saying some shit at the Olympics and stuff like that.
But like, you shouldn't get listed to an award. And I understand people are gonna be like, any publicity is good publicity.
Infamous,
but like why Ryan Lochte? The guy literally made up
though.
Ryan is literally the stupidest person I've ever heard speak, and he made up a story about how he got jumped at the sporting event of a lifetime. This list is about athletes. He was at the sporting event of his lifetime. Yeah. He makes up a giant story. He's in the news. Then it gets out that he made the news story. Yeah, and he's what Ryan Lochte he is at. I don't even know. I didn't write down the number, but he's in the top 100 somewhere.
67.
Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
JJ Watt, who I personally love. As an athlete, as an entertainer, I love. Like he's a good guy. He's a funny guy. He's a great hockey player.
Really?
Yeah, he loved hockey growing up.
Oh,
and
cool.
He has a big clapper. He's done some Sportsnet or some ESPN stuff on the ice. Loves hockey. But I get it that he's a good player and he's like big on social media. He played 3 games last year. He played at some point in this list. You need to take a good hard look and be like, okay,
right.
We don't have any hockey players or any baseball players, but we can throw in a football player who's sort of relevant, but also only played 3 games this year.
Yeah. Well, and maybe so then you change the criteria because we say it's objective based on criteria, but maybe those criteria are screwed up.
Because if you look at the list, I can tell if it's a popularity contest for social media, I don't see PK Subban on this list, who has literally gone. He rocked the sports world. Not the hockey world. He rocked the sports world into 2016. Rocked it.
So maybe this is my question about PK and hockey players in general. Do they really get mainstream coverage in the U.S.? Does this NHL
obviously not? This is an ESPN list, and there's no hockey players on it.
Well, ESPN hates hockey.
But
how big really is hockey? The interesting thing I should point out about hockey on this list is that they did a list last year, and Ovechkin was in the 60s. Crosby was in the 80s, and Malkin was in there as well, even a little bit lower.
So 3 hockey. So what did they? So
yeah,
this is interesting. Crosby, since that list, has only solidified his legendary status more.
He had a great year. Yeah.
He at one point in 2016, he was the reigning Stanley Cup champ, Olympic gold, World Cup of Hockey's champ, World IHF World champ, all at the same time. Mm-hmm. How many people in the sports world can say? And those are those Stanley Cup, Olympic, World Cup, IHF. Name a bigger out of those 4.
Yeah.
Name a bigger thing to win in hockey.
Yeah, that's it.
And so you're telling me that a guy Crosby, the best player in the world as far as hockey goes, plays in a U.S. market. He makes the list last year and only rocks the sports world this year, and he gets bumped off the list. Like, that's bullshit. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And you find Ronda Rousey at 16, who literally made an effort to stay out of the news.
So, I mean, based on those criteria, though, that maybe proves how niche of a sport hockey is in the States. Like, there are diehard hockey fans.
But you have cricket players on that list.
But India's got 1 billion people.
I get it. But like,
and 1 billion people that's their sport.
I get it, but
I get it too, though. But I think an interesting thing for me is like I was like, okay, well, I want to look at comparables, like how many endorsement dollars does Crosby have, and then look at, say, a basketball player and what's an equivalent basketball player on this list that has the same endorsement money. And Crosby has about $4.5 million of endorsements, and you have to go down to Dwight Howard in the NBA that has the same figure. And I don't know the last time I've seen Dwight Howard on any sort of advertisement whatsoever. So it's weird that way, that like endorsement dollars still in hockey are so small comparatively to basketball. I don't know how, because as
but it's
values, they're comparable, NBA and the NHL.
I get
and social media followers too. Like Ovechkin has 800,000 Instagram followers. Kyle Lowry, who plays in a Canadian market and maybe the best player on the team, not even necessarily, has 1 million followers on Instagram.
Okay, so let me ask you a question then.
Yes.
What about someone who has 43 million Facebook followers, 9.6 million Twitter followers, 6.9 million Instagram followers? He had acted in 3 movies.
Okay.
He's known for being, call it what you want, but he's known for being an athlete. And more recently than ever, he's dabbled into the business. He's becoming an entrepreneur in the business world. How does someone with a following like that, who makes as much money as he does, and do you know who I'm talking about? John Cena. Like how like those are numbers. You're talking about like
100%.
No, like 43. He Facebooks something and 43 million people see it. He can tweet a message. Almost 10 mil see it, and he can tweet or Instagram a photo, and almost 7 million see it. And he was in 3 movies.
Those numbers are higher than Federer, who's at number 4, like by several times.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And like he's the pulp culture. Like, how many times did you click on something to hear that stupid music?
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but I just feel like.
No, the John Cena one's weird. The Ronda Rousey one's weird to me. I think the thing that would have been good with this list, they show 4 different figures for each person, like the endorsement money, the Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter followers. That's clearly not all that goes into it, because some of the people on this list don't have any of those things available.
Totally. Which
can we see how you calculated this and not just have it? That would maybe help it a little more, and then I could see, okay, well, his rating is like this because of this algorithm. Like, I could kind of get a more real sense of how you actually came up with this list if you do that.
I read through some tweets about that list, and something that I'm sure you didn't think of, but also that I didn't think of. A lot of people were talking about NASCAR racers. Yeah. Because NASCAR is huge.
It's a huge American sport, yeah.
Huge in the States. And not only that, the endorsement money in NASCAR is unbelievable.
All right.
Unbelievable.
Well, it's all about, you pay for ad space on your cars, I imagine, and that like inherently is so core to the sport that it means so much to be able to get on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car or whatever.
This is what I just pulled it up. This is what this is what it is. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is that on that list at 69.
Nice.
He's the 26th highest paid athlete in the world. NASCAR has the second largest TV viewing audience in the U.S. and has the most. Yeah.
Are you like, it's football and then?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. One in every 3 male adults are a NASCAR fan.
Can I just stop this conversation to ask you, what do you think of NASCAR? Like, as a thing?
My grandpa is into it. I grew
Yeah?
up my grandpa has a pool, and every summer growing up, we would spend Sundays at my grandparents' house swimming, whatever. Sundays is when car races on, and Sundays is when the last day of golf tournaments are on.
Okay, yeah.
I grew up watching those two sports with my grandpa, NASCAR and golf. Probably a lot of people would say the two most boring sports. But I kind of like it. I mean, I can't sit there. My grandpa could sit there and watch a race, and he's into it. I like the pre-ramble stuff. I think it's kind of cool. I like how they start. I like the technicality of the sport.
Yeah.
But then there's like some time between the third lap and the 200th lap that I'm like,
yeah,
I don't really care about this.
Let's tune in at the beginning and tune in at the end and see what
Seriously. But like, and I never minded watching the last little bit of a NASCAR race, and it's nice to sit with my grandpa and he knows everything there is to know about the sport.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it's huge. Like if you go down, like I went to a Canadian race once, and just outside of London, and there were a lot of people there, like way more than I ever thought would show up at a Canadian CAS car race.
It's called CAS car?
Yeah, it was then. I don't know if it is now, but it definitely was then. And it just got me thinking, and I totally buy into this. How
it's such a sport.
But like, how many Europeans watch NASCAR?
Oh, like it's literally just the States and like
totally
sort of Canada.
Maybe a little bit of Canada. Yeah. But it's still pretty, like, how many bars do you go into in Canada that play the NASCAR race? Where I'm sure it's different if you go into like Texas.
Totally.
Or Georgia or Florida. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. I would like to experience that. I would love to just go like somewhere where they're crazy about NASCAR, see what it's about, because that is such a unique thing, I feel like.
It's the second largest TV viewing audience in the U.S.
I figured basketball's America's pastime. How is that?
Basketball or baseball?
Sorry, baseball. Basketball's fast growing as hell, and that's kind of proven by LeBron being number 2 on that list. But anyway, baseball is such a American sport, and people don't want to watch that on TV as much as NASCAR. And obviously, like, there aren't a lot of influential players because they're not on this Fame 100 list, which is also bizarre. It's a way bigger league than the NHL.
Totally. I don't know, man.
It's a little weird. I agree with that.
I don't agree with it whatsoever.
I
right off the
really
bat,
want to see how they did
even off the bat, I have a problem with Phil Mickelson at 5, Tiger Woods at 10. I have a problem with Kevin Durant being in the top 10. I have a problem with, like, I don't like soccer, but I have a hard time thinking that LeBron James is bigger than Messi.
Yeah. It makes me think
Messi is like the LeBron James of soccer.
Well, so the NBA is working really hard to grow the game in China, in those East Asian countries. Is it working? Is that the case? Because just purely based on numbers, like, soccer's got such a global game.
I think ESPN just likes LeBron James. And
he came out to like number 9, and they were like, let's boost him up.
Seriously.
Well, that's the thing. You don't know based on this list that objectively this person, based on your criteria, was this ranking. I would love to see the specific way they came up with it. That would be my thing with
Well, they won't tell you, because then you'll see how crooked it is. All right. Getting back to hockey.
Yes.
We've dabbled a little bit. Let's just talk about game 1 and what we saw. We'll do our predictions even though we're a game late.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, really quick, just a couple minutes on game 1.
Yeah.
What we think of let's start with what we think of the series.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think Nashville's going to win it. I think if Nashville, we saw game 1 where it went to overtime. Nashville looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have, like, Nashville. Oh, it's too good of a story for not to root for Nashville. I'm calling.
I agree. It's too. Watching that game solidified my prediction in that this team's been so dominant. Pittsburgh's more bruised up. Losing Johansson's a big factor, but they still have their 4 incredible D that seemed relatively uninjured.
Yeah,
that's huge. And the other thing is, if Rinne can play like he's been playing, because he stunk in game 1. For someone that was playing amazing the entire
5
playoffs.
goals.
Yeah. His save percentage was under 700.
5 goals on 12 shots.
So bad.
5 goals on 12 shots. And the crazy thing is, the Penguins didn't have a shot for 37 minutes.
Yeah.
That's 7 minutes. That's almost 3/4 of the or 2/3 of the hockey game.
And so in that case, I kind of understand why he let in that Gensel goal to put them up, because you haven't seen a shot in real time. There were 2 intermissions in between the time he saw a last shot. You're waiting so long. You're so
and it was he got scored on with 16 seconds left in the first. So it was a goal, 37 minutes without getting a shot, and then another goal.
Yeah. It was a pretty good goal by Gensel. It was up above the shoulder, kind of top corner, but some of those other goals are pretty bad.
And I just feel like after watching that game, there's no way they're going to let that happen again. Nashville.
Do you think he has a bad game tonight and they put in
No.
Saros?
No. Who's their back? I don't even know their backup. Who's their backup?
Saros. I think he's decent, but he doesn't play. It would be a kind of thing like Matt Murray where he comes out of nowhere. Yeah.
And if they he's half the reason they got by Chicago the way they did was because of the goaltending.
He's the Conn Smythe winner if they win. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think so, but
he did scare me a bit though in that game 1.
All right, I'm gonna call it.
I call it.
Nashville in 6. I think they win tonight. I think they win 2 at home. There's no
they win on home ice.
Yeah, they win 2 games at home easily.
That's what I want to see so badly. But can I have the same prediction? I don't know. I'm gonna go Nashville in 7.
No,
I want 7 because 7 is almost as good because it's it's a game 7.
Yeah,
I'll do that. What did you think of the offside call?
I think the offside review is killing the sport of hockey.
It's killing the flow. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, I've said this before. Why can't we have imaging like we do in tennis or any of these other sports?
Yeah.
We can immediately say, oh, it was offside. Alert the ref. Let's not ruin the flow of the game and call back goals and kill people's momentum.
Totally.
It sucks.
Something I want to talk about really quick is, and we've never talked about this, so I'm going to drop this on you on your fresh. Do you watch hockey in a different way with that new call now?
I do.
Than you did before.
100%. I'm glad you brought that up.
I find that if I see something that's questionable, I'm like, fuck, now I want to whistle.
Yeah.
Because I know if there's a close call and they called it not offside, I'm like, I think that was offside.
Yeah.
And now I'm just sitting in tension. I'm like, I don't want to score now because I don't want to lose a goal.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
In the back of your mind is in that whole possession. You're like,
totally. And it changes. I feel like it changes why I enjoy hockey. I enjoy hockey. Well, nah, that's a little.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's a lot. It changes. It just changes kind of where my head's at while I watch games because I would never ever wish for Montreal not to score if I'm watching a Montreal game.
Yeah.
But if I see a close call, I'm like, God damn it.
It's unrelated to...
They're gonna challenge that if they score.
Yeah.
And then they score and you're kind of like, well, shit.
It's unrelated to what's on the ice. You're pulling your mind away from what's actually going on the ice because you're stuck on this thing that's happened in the past.
And I'm down with getting the right call. Mm-hmm. But at this point, I feel like they should make the rule loosey-goosey for a reason. I feel like...
Let human error happen at least.
Yeah, I feel like if you take away the technology of it, so it's the rule isn't if you have that... Because being in control when you cross the line, it's so subjective.
Yeah.
You saw it so many times this season.
On that play, the call was based on his skate being in the air or not,
in the air.
And that looked inconclusive from
the
footage we could see.
I agree.
And inconclusive means it goes on the side of the play on the ice. Yeah, it's stupid.
I feel like they should make it so it's I don't know. I keep thinking this to myself, and then I think you have to draw a line somewhere. If you take away it, if you take away the blue line, then they're just gonna make a line somewhere else.
Yeah.
But I mean, if instead of a line, maybe it's maybe you're allowed to cross, but you're allowed to cross within like something a little more generic, not generic. What's the word I'm looking for? Like you can be like a stick length.
It's a zone as opposed to a line.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then you just leave it so it's like you can call it question, like you give the power back to the refs and not to like the camera.
Or what about like a soccer offside where as long as there's a guy back, you can.
I'm not trying to change the rule. I guess I am. I think I'm not trying to take away the blue line. I think what my answer is, instead of having a line where it's literally a hair where it's blue and then white, maybe they make it so they put something kind of vague in there to eliminate. So it's like you can be offside, but you can be offside a stride. What's a stride? Stride depends on the person.
Right.
Who decides that? The ref does.
Well, and that's what the human element is.
And you call it immediately.
If a ref can see the offside, it's an offside. If they can't, then it's not. I think that's what the old rule was basically.
That's what I think that's what it has to what has to happen, because and if it's not if it is an offside and they're on you just blow it down. You blow it down right away and it's like that was offside. And if it wasn't, even like the worst case scenario, it wasn't offside. You get a face off. It's not like you scored.
Yeah.
I just feel like you blow it dead. I don't know.
Devil's advocate, though.
Totally. I have a devil's advocate point.
And if I'm a Pittsburgh fan and I see that they allow that goal and I look at the play after and I'm like, what the hell? That was offside. I'm pissed off that the refs didn't call it.
Okay, but if you're an Ottawa fan or something happened in the Ottawa. No, it was Pittsburgh. It was I forget who shot it, but they hit Phil Kessel in the head. It was a pass that went wild, hit him in the head, and Kessel went down.
Yeah.
Ottawa would have had a 2-on-1, and they blew it down dead. And it's like, that shouldn't be a whistle.
Oh, it sucks.
You got hit in the head with a puck from your player.
It's hard both ways.
But they blew it down, and I have an easier time being blown down at the other end of ice and not getting the 2-on-1 as opposed to getting the 2-on-1, scoring, waiting around for 12 minutes, and then getting the news that it was that player's A skate was off the ice by an inch.
Yeah.
I guess. Someone somewhere says it was. I don't really see it.
Yeah, you don't.
But because someone said it somewhere, that's why you don't get that goal.
Yeah.
Because Nashville fell behind 3-0, and they climbed their way back into the game, and they still fucking lost. And like, I would have
been a very different game if they had got that.
I would be
goal.
Pissed if I was anyone on Predators, Laviolette, GM, anyone.
I'm sure they're pissed. That the thing you mentioned about Pittsburgh reminded me of in Game 7. Do you remember when I think Kessel shot it and it went over the top of the net? But then they showed the overhead shot to the crowd in Pittsburgh, and they booed for like 2 minutes straight because for some reason they thought it went in.
You're right. You guys in the stands had a much better view than literally not millions, but hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of technology, millions of eyes across the world.
If I'm the announcer at that point, I would
shut up.
Like, listen, guys, that was definitely not a goal. Shut up.
Oh man.
I just wanted to mention also the Don Cherry in Game 1 and in Game 7. So you saw that comment about he was talking about Kessel during warm-ups, just kind of like chatting with the trainer.
Man, yeah, he did not like that.
And he did his old school Don Cherry, was like, I don't want to say it, but it's those American players. And then he mocked Ron. He was like, Don's gonna say, no, there's American players. But the best part to me is that Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals, he comes out, it's Memorial Day in the States, and he's wearing an American flag.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do you stand, Don?
Oh, he's
it's entertaining. It's great TV.
He's turning into like a senile old man. Like,
absolutely. Did you also in that they're both wearing sunglasses, Ron and Don?
I saw that.
And Ron's look like he just came back from cataract surgery. They're so big.
Like the big ones that you put over your reading glasses.
Yeah. I think that's the first time Ron's looked dumber than Don.
Yeah.
In a telecast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a bizarre game for a lot of reasons. That overturned call, the 37 minutes without a shot. The catfish dude.
Very bizarre. Oh, we got to talk about the
catfish. Let her remind me
that. This is a long podcast. I apologize, but we got to talk about this real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Buddy.
Buddy does.
Nashville fan goes to Pittsburgh.
First of all, he buys a catfish in Nashville.
Yeah, I just got to bring this up really quick.
Bring it up.
Bar Down tweeted this thing that was, or not tweeted, added this thing on their website, and they did like the steps of what he had to do to get that catfish into the arena. So he brought, and for those of you who don't know, throwing catfish.
When did that start?
I don't know, but it's like a thing. It's like, it's
now.
kind of like how in Detroit they throw octopuses, or in Florida they throw rats.
Yeah.
In Nashville they throw catfish. Anyways, these are the steps that I don't know if it's Waddle. His name's Waddle. Police say Waddle bought the catfish in Tennessee, vacuum sealed it, put it in his compression shorts, and removed it in the men's room at the PPG Arena. But these are the steps he went through. Step 1, he bought a pair of $350 upper bowl tickets for game 1 in Pittsburgh. Step 2, bought an ambitiously big catfish from a market in Tennessee. Step 3, spray the fish with Old Spice and throw it in the cooler before making his way to Pittsburgh. And this is my favorite. Step 4, he fillets the fish, cuts out half the spine, and he runs it over with his truck to make it smaller. Step 6, he stuffs the vacuum-packed, truck-ridden fish in between regular underwear and a pair of his compression shorts. And Step 7, he snuck down to the 100 level with the fish out of his pants and chucked it over the glass.
That's
and it's if that's not crazy enough, there's seriously a law in Pennsylvania that like this guy might get dinged for being charged with a weapon.
That's ridiculous.
Where is it?
This is just part of the sport. Like it's a little reckless, but it adds to the story of it. Like the fact that you would consider that actually dangerous. I hope it gets thrown out in a court.
He's lawyered up. He won't fight the disorderly conduct citation.
Yeah.
He'll take that.
It's fair.
But there's like they're trying to ding him with something bigger than that. It's like, but oh my God, what is this world coming through that? The man can't support his team by throwing a car-ridden, vacuum-peeled, Old Spice soaked catfish onto the ice. Come on.
He was quoted as saying he was just a dumb redneck with a bad idea. It's pretty on point, but we all loved it. Carrie Underwood loved it. She tweeted about it. She's the Drake of the Nashville Predators, as Drake is to the Raptors. Basically,
I like that.
now.
I like that.
If Drake was married to like DeRozan. Yeah.
Anyways, all right. This is a long podcast. We got hockey to watch.
We do. Oh shit! What time is it? Oh,
it is
it's
8:20.
Okay, we better go watch that game. Yeah, that has been the episode. Thanks for watching, listening, not watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Puck Talk Show. We're posting stuff throughout the playoffs, especially on our Instagram. The show is available on YouTube at Puck Talk Show as well. And this has been Puck Talk. Thanks for talking hockey with us.